There's one thing in life that I love, probably more than anything on earth. And it's not a dog or a cat or some prized possession of mine. It's the greatest TV show of all time, The Walking Dead. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining why it's my favorite show and why I love it so much and why you should watch it and it should be your favorite show too. I've been watching The Walking Dead for over a year now, and I think it's safe to say it is probably one of my favorite shows that will ever exist. Within 20 seconds of a YouTube short, I was immediately hooked, and I am now in love with the franchise. I own multiple collectibles, some comics, I've played through all the games, I have Rick's jacket, and even the profile picture for this channel is Comic Book Rick. And now that I've proved to you that I love The Walking Dead, let me tell you why.
Chance, take it.
Grateful.
The day will come when you won't be.
In my opinion, I think that one of the greatest strong points of The Walking Dead is its storytelling. If you've never seen The Walking Dead, it may just seem like a show where they fight walkers, and then the walkers fight back, and then they fight people, and then the people die, and then the cycle just repeats itself. But if you watch the show, this is actually not the case. And while that may be a part of the plot, there's other things that are involved too, which also they have to survive from. For instance, take seasons 7 and 8 for example, which are about Rick's group being enslaved by Negan, and then them having to overpower him and take back control of Alexandria and become free again. The fight for freedom is the entire driving force in these two seasons. Another example would be the overarching theme of rebuilding Earth and building back up society. This topic appears time and time again in the show. The foreshadowing is just a great aspect of it too. For instance, in season 1, when the group is trying to leave the CDC, Rick tells Dr. Jenner that he's grateful for letting them leave and his hospitality. Dr. Jenner tells Rick that the day will come when you won't be. This would later go on to be the name of season 7 episode 1, where Glenn and Abraham lose their lives to Negan. Another example of the great writing is when characters lose their minds and go insane. This happens quite often in the show. We see it a lot with Rick, for instance when he loses Lori, and in his last episode when he sees Shane. And for some strange reason, Sasha's there. I mean, I'm not sure why Sasha's there, but she is. But in my opinion, a more significant one would be when we see this happen to Carol. During the Whisperer War, Alpha puts a bunch of people's heads on spikes to signify her territory. One of these people happens to be her son, Henry. She ends up getting bloodlusted and goes after all the Whisperers herself and gets a lot of people hurt. One reason why I think this is so significant is because Carol's always just been the resilient character who does things herself and she gets them done. Even when Sophia dies, I mean, we see that she's sad, but we never see her perspective on it. Or when she killed Lizzie, it was just kind of brushed under the rug to me. And why I think this is so good for the show is because they are still fleshing out characters 11 seasons after they were introduced. And another reason why I love the great writing is because of the shock factor. I've never found myself not on the edge of my seat when I'm watching this show. And let me tell you, these writers have no chill when it comes to making their TV show. A great example of this is something I just went over, which is Lizzie's death. Lizzie is a little girl who ends up killing her sister and then Carol has to kill her. Another shocking part in the show is obviously Negan's introduction. I feel like nobody expected Glenn to die unless you read the comics. And if you didn't read the comics and expected Glenn to die, I feel like it probably didn't look like that in your brain. I do feel like that Abraham's death was a little overshadowed by Glenn's though. And if your response to this is, oh, the show's too sad, oh, it's so sad. This is also the exact same show. And that leads me on to my second reason why I love this show so much.
What happened, Rick? I thought you weren't the good guy anymore. Ain't that what you said? Even right here, right now, you ain't gonna fight for him.
Another reason why I love The Walking Dead is the character growth. Take Rick for example. Rick is someone who just wanted to protect his family during the apocalypse and didn't want to kill the living. But then after that, he becomes a bloodlusted version of himself who will kill anyone in his path and is in his way. And after a while, he even becomes desensitized to murdering people and ultimately becomes worse than Shane, who he killed after he put everyone in the group in danger in seasons 1 and 2. But then after Carl's death in the season 8 finale, he becomes merciful and spares Negan even after everything he's done. Another character I really enjoy watching change is Shane. In the beginning, he's Rick's best friend and partner as a cop, and then saves Lori and Carl at the beginning of the fall. He ends up trying to save Rick, but, failing and then falling in love with Lori. But then when Rick comes back, Lori is mad at him for lying to her, and he eventually goes insane and, that leads to his demise. One thing I love about Shane's character growth is how quickly he adapted to the apocalypse. And I feel like he's the catapult to Rick's insanity. Another character I enjoy watching grow is Negan. I really enjoyed the mysterious aspect of him when he was first introduced onto the show.
None of those things are yours anymore.
Whose are they?
Your property now belongs to Negan.
And then in later seasons figuring out who he was before the fall and why he acts the way he does. And I thought he had one of the more interesting character arcs during the Whisperer War. And there's so many other characters that I could mention, but I feel like we'd be here forever because the show's just that great. And yeah, that's another reason why I love The Walking Dead. Another strong point I think The Walking Dead has is its aesthetic. Throughout the show, we get to see some beautiful scenery, and I feel like it often goes unappreciated how good the cinematography actually is. There's just something about the setting that's just so nice. Whether it be the overgrown wooded areas, or the abandoned buildings, or the empty cityscapes. The world of The Walking Dead is somehow amazingly fleshed out and very diverse, yet still never gets rid of that feeling of mystery, which I think is why it's so marketable and it's so well done and why there can be so many spin-offs made after one another. Speaking of marketable, I love seeing how mainstream The Walking Dead's starting to become again. I bought all the Fortnite skins, and I'd like to point out I had them rare, just a little bit of a brag. They also added Rick into Warzone, which I think is pretty awesome, and I'm decently sure Michonne's going to be in it too. I think I saw that somewhere. And I'm not going to lie, I have no idea how Call of Duty made a better Rick Grimes model than a company that was making an actual The Walking Dead game, but that's just me. That's just a little gripe I have. Anyways, let me cut it out with all the yap and move on to the next reason why I love The Walking Dead so much.
Because this is how we survive. We tell ourselves that we are the Walking Dead.
I feel like The Walking Dead has genuinely one of the best communities out there. Clash PR just makes great videos in my opinion, and I'd love to collab with him one day, and I'm pretty sure he single-handedly revived The Walking Dead. It was actually a video of his that got me into the show in the first place, and he's the reason why I'm making this video right now. Also, The Walking Dead has one of the best editing communities on TikTok. Every time I grace my eyes upon one, I know it's going to be absolutely heat. And if you've seen one, you know what I'm talking about. I actually run an editing account for The Walking Dead on TikTok, and that community is actually what got me into doing it. Anyways, let me lead you into my final reason why I love The Walking Dead.
Doesn't mean the rest of them have to.
So basically, right, this is kind of a more serious one, so just a little disclaimer there. It's no secret that 2023 was not a good year for most people based on, you know, all the TikToks that were made and stuff about it. So I was also one of those people going through a tough time. I was going on through stuff at school. I didn't have very many friends. I was lonely. I had stuff going on at home. It wasn't a good year for me, you know. I don't really want to get into it because it was kind of like serious personal stuff that I don't feel like sharing. And no matter how bad it got, man, no matter how much I got made fun of at school, no matter how bad of a grade I made on a test because I didn't understand anything, I always knew no matter how bad it got, I could always come home and watch The Walking Dead. Which sounds really, really dumb, but it was really my only source of happiness for quite a while because I loved this show and I always knew that I could come home and watch it no matter how bad my day was. But yeah, that's some real stuff. That's why I glaze it. That's the sole reason that I love this show so much. Which leads me to announce that I will be opening up a Walking Dead dedicated YouTube channel. It'll be linked in the description, so if that's your thing, go check it out, go subscribe. It's just a little project of mine and I'll see where it goes. But yeah, to me that's everything great about The Walking Dead. I'm basically the Nick A30 of this show and I will forever glaze it because it's absolutely amazing. Let me know if I forgot to mention anything in the comments. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. I've been working on this since October of 2023. And while that may seem silly, I just really wanted to perfect this video because this is like my baby and I love it. I love The Walking Dead. I wanted to give it its justice, you know? I didn't really want to mention anything from Fear the Walking Dead or the comics or anything outside of the main show because I haven't really finished any of that yet. So I just kind of wanted to cover the main show this time. If I timed this right, you should be seeing this the day before The Ones Who Live come out. I think. I'm pretty sure I timed it right. And I'm very excited for that because I love Rick Grimes and I think he's the greatest main character of all time. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. And I usually upload gaming content. But if you're more into the Walking Dead stuff, go subscribe to the new channel.